Appropriations and Adjudication now reconvenes with discussions on the fiscal year 2017 budget proposal from the Guam Community College. I want to preface this budget hearing and future hearings with the fact that the government of Guam has a FY 2015 cumulative general fund deficit of about $120 million. Now more than ever, we all have to understand that increasing expenditures against potential decline or flat revenue levels may not be realistic. We may all have to come to that realization either now or sometime in the future. Though I am using that as a preface to all the hearings that the committee will be discussing, I want to start this hearing by commending Madam President and your board for submitting to us a budget that is even less than what was in last year's budget. I was criticized last year for having GCC as my teacher's pet, receiving 100% or close to 100% of what they had requested. It wasn't so much that I was giving more than what was needed. It was a realization that the budget that I've been seeing from GCC for the last 3 years since I have been chair have been real budgets that actually address the issues of what is needed by the institution, and not additional fluff or insurance against all kinds of other things. And that's the reason why we've been able to give the GCC what seemingly was 100% of their budget, was because they weren't asking for anything extra. They were being very realistic about their operations, and consequently we were able to address that. And I think that's evident this year by the fact that your budget for this upcoming fiscal year is almost equal, if not less, than last year's budget. And I want to commend you for having heard our plea, hoping that the departments that come after you will also understand that we really do have to address this issue, that the revenues aren't going to be going up. If it was flat, I'd be happy. I'm afraid it might go down. And so I just really, really want to express my appreciation for the fact that your budget was presented as it was. My only concern is, while you were depending on some manpower development money, and that might not be there, we'll discuss that later, but I will allow you to, at this point, make your presentation. But I want to recognize my colleagues who have joined me. To my left, your Oversight Chair, the Speaker of the Guam Legislatures, Speaker Judith Wampat. To her left, Senator Narissa Underwood, Senator Tommy Morrison, Senator Tony Atta. To my right, Senator Respicio and Senator Mary Torres Camacho Torres. My hyphens are a little backwards. But Madam President, or will the board chair be the one that presents? Whichever.
Alpha Day Vice Speaker Cruz and members of the Committee on Appropriations, Public Debt, Legal Affairs, Retirement, Public Parks, Recreation, Historic Preservation, and Land. The Guam Community College respectfully submits its budget request in the amount of $20,394,725 for review and approval by the Committee on Appropriations and Adjudication, and subsequently by the entire 33rd Guam Legislature. Mr. Speaker, I have every confidence in asking the legislature for this entire amount. It should be noted that this fiscal year 2017 budget request is nearly $2,000 less than the current year budget request. GCC has been that diligent a steward of the public tax dollars. In March, the college received its 15th consecutive clean audit from the independent auditors Deloitte & Touche LLP. As a businessman and a taxpayer, I trust GCC to spend my tax dollars and those of every other taxpayer on Guam in the most economic and prudent manner to carry out the GCC mission as a leader in career and technical workforce development, providing the highest quality student-centered education and job training for Micronesia. Dr. Mary Okada and her team have done an incredible job over the past 9 years, leveraging federal grants and loans to construct 3 brand new buildings, renovating and expanding 2 older structures. This summer, the college plans to break ground on renovation and expansion of another old structure, Building 100. This structure houses the criminal justice and cosmetology programs. We, of course, invite all of the senators to attend this event in celebration of GCC's continued campus growth and improvement. GCC will also start its addition of a classroom to the GPD Crime Lab in complement with our other criminal justice programs. GCC's advancements have not all been physical campus improvements, though. Over the past decade, the college has improved its course completion rate, and this is the time it takes students to successfully pass a course, and this is by over 20%. In that time, 10% more students are also trying to stay in school. The best news of all, though, is that the college has actually increased its graduation rate in the past decade by 180%. This means that more students who start at GCC are actually graduating with a degree or certificate, giving them the education and skills they need to become a successful, productive member of Guam's workforce. In my role as the new board chair at GCC's commencement in May of this year, I proudly presided over the conferral of 523 degrees, certificates, and diplomas to 464 graduates. It was the largest graduating class and the largest number of post-secondary degrees conferred in the college's 39-year history. The college is also making advancements in the technological arena, both with equipment it provides in the classroom and with regards to its programs. Members of the GCC faculty regularly meet with industry experts so that they can teach what businesses need our graduates to know when they hire them. The GCC Board of Trustees proudly supports these college initiatives and will continue to support them. GCC is cognizant of the government's challenging financial status, which is why the college is asking for the bare minimum needed to continue its fine work with regard to workforce development on Guam and in our region. Mr. Vice Speaker, I respectfully ask you to allow Dr. Okada and her team at GCC to continue their excellent efforts to educate and provide skills training to our island's growing workforce by granting GCC its full budget request of $20,394,725 for fiscal year 2017. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Madam President.
Half-a-day Vice Speaker Cruz and committee members, Speaker Wampat, Senator Underwood, Senator Morrison, Senator Atta, Senator Respicio, Senator Torres, Senator Rodriguez, thank you for spending your time this afternoon with the Guam Community College. For the past 9 years, I have come before this august body to request for your support for the Guam Community College fiscal year budget. This year, I humbly ask for your support once again. First of all, thank you for the opportunity and allowing GCC continue to shine in its capacity as a leader in career and technical workforce development, providing the highest quality student-centered education and job training for Micronesia. As I present to you this afternoon, I would like for you to focus on the fact that GCC has been a leading Government of Guam agency for the past 15 years. For fiscal year 2017, the Guam Community College budget request is $20,394,725. This amount is actually a slight decrease of nearly $2,000 as compared to our fiscal year 2016 budget request. Our 2015 fall semester enrollment was 2,410 students. While this number indicates a slight decrease in our post-secondary programs, mirroring a national decline in community colleges enrollment in our secondary programs for academic year 2015-2016 reached 2,609 students, the highest yet since we've moved the programs into our various public high schools in 2001. Enrollment in the GCC Votech High School was never more than 1,000 students. With this year's 2,609 student enrollment in our CTE programs in high school, which includes sophomores, juniors, and seniors, we are reaching more than double the amount of students we used to reach. In May and June of this year, 185 students graduated from these GCC Career and Technical Education public high school programs with certificates of mastery. Collectively, these 185 students can earn a possible 1,059 college credits at GCC through our dual credit articulated programs of study, or DCAPS. That number equates, using an average 3-credit course, to 353 college courses completed by these students before they even get into college. They can do this because several years ago, our faculty aligned the learning outcomes associated with our introductory post-secondary courses with the mastery courses in the respective career and technical education programs. So these students earn college credit while they're still in high school, and if they choose to enroll at GCC by next month, they have an opportunity to start college with credit under their belt. While our DCAPS program is a great college pathway program, we recognize that these students need some guidance, as we are finding out that many do not pursue their mastery programs in college, or they attend UOG, or they go off island, or some simply head right into the workforce. We know this because the 2014-2015 school year, we had 196 students earning certificates of mastery, yet only 24 students, or 12%, chose their mastery pathway and took advantage of those credits. This is a great opportunity for us to use the data we have to improve in this area, as we now recognize that GCC might have to provide some stronger guidance to students as they transition from secondary to the post-secondary environment. Vice Speaker and honorable committee members, imagine what it would be like if all of 185 of this year's students that received their certificate of mastery registered and obtained the dual credit from GCC that they have earned. Imagine how much this will boost our enrollment and graduation numbers. Imagine what it would do for our workforce. If this happened, then GCC would be in line with other states in providing some free community college to our residents. While this is just the beginning, imagine what it would mean to those 185 graduates from GDOE this year alone. Over the next several years, the college will continue to strengthen its facilities and complete expansions that have been identified in its campus facility master plan. In fiscal year 2017, we have several projects underway. First, the renovation expansion of Building 100 will roll out later this month, and the expansion of the Guam Police Department Crime Lab will roll out shortly thereafter. Funding for these renovations have already been secured. I am grateful for your continuous support in helping us see these projects through. It is all of our collective efforts that will make this a reality. Next, the college will begin the renovation of Building 300 with funding support from FEMA. A few days ago, we received the pre-award notification. This new facility will upgrade, strengthen, and replace our current multi-purpose auditorium. The college has been expanding over the past several years, and we have outgrown our current facility. This renovation will allow the college to further expand its award-winning culinary arts program by providing upgraded facilities and more space to offer more courses. Imagine what we could do with an expanded culinary program. Although we have submitted a slight decrease in operational costs for fiscal year 2017, the college will continue to maintain accountability for the funds that we have in order to maintain our low-risk oddity status. We have reached a significant milestone in that we have garnered this designation for the past 15 years. Team GCC is successful again, and I am proud to share that with our community. For the past 2 years, GCC has submitted, as part of its reporting requirements, information on our graduates. This information documents the number of graduates actually employed in the career related to their degree and the salary that they are earning. This report is limited in its scope, however, in that it is only based on the students contacted by telephone from August 2015 to April 2016. The report shows that in 2014, 79 of the 211 graduates we were able to contact are employed in occupations aligned with their college career pathway. For 2015, 55 of the 230, or nearly 24%, are employed in occupations aligned with their college career pathway. You can find the report on the GCC website. We put these reports to good use as we continue to use our data to improve our strategies to capture the employment profiles of our graduates. With the support of the Guam legislature this fiscal year, GCC received its full budget request of $20.3 million. However, this does not necessarily translate into funding that we will actually be given. While we recognize the reality of the fiscal situation, GCC has had to implement measures to ensure that we do not end the fiscal year with a deficit. We are monitoring this very closely. That said, however, our limited budget does not allow us to expand into several areas that we would like to offer. For example, we've had several inquiries into a radiologic technology program. However, we cannot pursue that program without the funding to be able to offer a quality curriculum. Our 2017 budget request supports our apprenticeship program. This past academic year, we graduated 78 journey workers. We currently have 540 apprentices in our programs. I can remember when I first started in this position 9 years ago that we had 98 apprentices. We have grown quite a bit in this area. The largest number of apprentices are now from Docomo Pacific, GTA Teleguam, and Cabris Marine Corporation. This information is all readily available on our website and provided on a quarterly basis. With the number of apprentices, we do have some concerns on the funding to support these programs. The current budget appropriation from the Manpower Development Fund is $879,906 and $374,951 from the General Fund. However, we anticipate a decreased level of funding from the Manpower Development Fund because we know that the number of H-2 workers are decreasing primarily due to the renewal process. I want to alert you to a concern that I have regarding merit bonuses. In 2013, the college paid out merit bonuses to its employees based on its legal obligation at the time, 2010 through 2013. Since then, an accumulation of these obligations has begun. In the past several years, GCC has accumulated $52,186.95, and that includes benefits associated with these bonuses. The bonuses remain on the books, but are currently on hold. I seek your support in determining a resolution to this issue. Something else is new at GCC this past year is that we have begun a transformational journey. We are undergoing not just a change, but also a transformation in how we view our students, our mission, and our individual jobs at the college. The goal of this transformation is to achieve 100% student-centered success. That success is defined by our students themselves, whether their goal is to successfully pass a course, earn a degree, certificate, a high school diploma, or gain a skill or take professional development course. At GCC, we realize that if we do not have students, we would not exist. Therefore, we are transforming into a college that is focused on helping our students to succeed. Our students face challenges, and an overwhelming majority of them do not enter college with college-level math or English skills. They take an average of 4 years to complete a 2-year degree, and 25% of our freshmen do not return after their first semester. Recently, 40 employees at GCC, mostly administrators and staff, but also one faculty member, underwent 2 weeks of training in how to approach transformation. Allow me to share some of their thoughts with you. Transformation is mission imperative because if our students fail, our workforce fails, therefore GCC fails. That's from Christine Seeson, a program specialist from Continuing Education and Workforce Development. An administrative officer from Academic Affairs, Anna Maria Torre, states, "The only way to change our mission is by changing our mindset, collaborating together, being transparent, and holding ourselves accountable for our actions, or lack thereof, to stay the leader in career and technical workforce development in Micronesia. Learning never stops. Everyone's voice counts. Together we succeed." Further, we cannot continue to look at our problems, challenges, and victories in the same way. We must change the way we think, behave, and work to be 100% student-centered successful. We must stop failing students for what they have not been taught. We must view our students not as at risk, but as learners with untapped potential. It is not extra work, but we seek new ways of doing our work to be more effective and establish a culture of 100% student-centered success. Transformation is non-negotiable. It is imperative. And that is from Dr. Julia Joa Heath, our program specialist for TRIO programs. Further, we as an institution must transform to continuously create new and innovative job skills, involving our curriculum and teaching ideas to provide students with the highest quality education for our ever-changing society. And that is from Cheryl St. our General Accounting Supervisor. Dorothy Lou Manglotnia, our faculty chair for the Department of Allied Health, says, "We must realize that we are no longer dealing with the same type of students or the same types of challenges from recent years. Today, we are faced with the realization that the focus for community college is no longer about providing access for students. Rather, it is their success while enrolled that is now the focus." And finally, Marlena Montague, our assistant director from Office of Assessment, Institutional Effectiveness, and Research says, "Transformation is the answer to the question we have had about who, what, when, where, why, and how of GCC." So you see, Senators, at GCC, we are changing the way we do things. This transformation also means we are looking at our financial processes to see how they can be more student-centric. We continue to lever our funds to bring out the greatest return on our investment. Our graduation numbers continue to increase, and our degree, certificate, and apprenticeship programs have produced hundreds of educated, skilled workers for our island businesses and government departments. We know that we have improvements to make in the way we approach our underperformance areas, and as I have mentioned, we are transforming in those areas. Continuing our work at GCC will build a stronger Guam and position our residents to be able to successfully compete for the growing number of jobs that boost our economy. We all know that we will be training students for jobs that have not yet been created. We understand this reality and want to position our college to appropriately respond to those needs. Senators, as I mentioned before, it has been 9 years for me at the helm, and I am grateful to you for your continued support of the Guam Community College and its budget request for the duration of my presidency. Your continued investment in higher education has strengthened our economy, educated many Guam residents, and allowed the college to expand its programs and facilities. As president of the Guam Community College, your support will allow me to continue the work of Team GCC. I respectfully request for your support of our fiscal year 2017 budget request in the amount of $20,394, $20,394,725 as your collective investment in GCC's mission to provide the highest quality education and job training for Micronesia. Sidzus Masi.
I was really hoping you meant that. I'm glad you acknowledged the problem that we're having with manpower developments, but we'll try to figure out where we can get the money to make up for that loss. I think you acknowledged that it's not going to be the $2.6 million that we thought that it was going to have, and I think it only has $800,000 in it currently. So we're going to have to figure out some way to make up that difference. Though I never intended it for this to be the focus of the budget hearing, your testimony forces me to try to address one issue. And I broached the subject this morning with the president of the university because last week we suffered, and I almost used the word, mean to use the word, we suffered through 3 budget hearings of 3 public safety agencies with overtime requests in excess of $6 million total and unused vacancy pool money in excess of $3 million. I may give you the money from their vacancy pool to make up that difference that you have in there. But the thing is that, as you say, we've got to train for what we need in this community. And it's no secret, we need a couple of hundred police officers. We have another 100 DOC guards that are necessary. And if the chief was correct and fired, if people retire with 30 years ago having 3 cycles back to back, we could lose half fire. In fact, his testimony was just in 2010 they established a fire academy, but he's not aware of anything being taught up there because he hasn't been invited to teach. And I'll send you the transcript. Would you prefer that we deal with this in a round table with everybody at the table? Because I'm still trying to figure out how or why we are producing or graduating. I know in this last class I was there, when all the CJ majors stood up, and I've been to the previous graduations with all the large number of CJ majors that are standing up. And in a FOIA request to you, I thank you very much for pointing out the statistics in your fact book, that of all the CJ graduates of the last 3 years, that only 2 of them have picked up a GPD. And why I'm concerned about this is because until 2 years ago, you very graciously hosted the director of post at GCC. And I think a lot of people had whether or not it was misinformation or belief that since post was housed at GCC, that GCC had a program that would be post appropriate or post certified, and so therefore getting mommy to help me invest in a 4,000 Balea tuition would be my ticket to a decent job at GPD has not proven so. I mean, I had one mother in my office last week crying about how she had scraped together the 4,000 between her family and her husband's family to send her son through the certification program, and has yet to be able to get the, if the child was old and weak like me, I could understand, but he looks like a center for some football team. But he can't find a job. And so I'm trying to figure out how can we either tailor the program that you have to meet the needs of GPD, GFD, or DOC, or some combination, or not being glib, but is the Balea program as valid as Trump University in misleading these students into taking the program and having nowhere to go after they finish? I mean, there is a need, there's no question about it. Between the 3 agencies, at least 200. 300. GPD by itself, we're supposed to try to figure out 200 over the next 2 years. How can we get them trained, and what? Please.
So just a couple of answers regarding the Manpower Development Fund first. So for fiscal year 2016, the Manpower Development Fund is budgeted at $879,906. And in the budget, there is also a line item that specifically says apprenticeship for $374,951. Because GCC received its budget request last year, we allocated to the Manpower Development Fund, because of the number of apprentices we had, out of our other appropriations, an additional $872,000 to continue the apprenticeship program, because we have so many students in apprenticeship currently. In response to the how we can tailor programs. The criminal justice certificate is the operational component of what is required for GPD. So it's the ops piece. We recognize that GCC also has, for GPD, a Police Officer 1 apprenticeship program, and we currently have students in that program. We have the same thing with Department of Corrections. In Department of Corrections, a lot of their apprentices graduated just this past May with their Journey Worker Certificate that was funded out of the Manpower Development Fund. So if you line up the three types of programs, you've got the GCC Criminal Justice Certificate, the GCC Apprenticeship Journey Worker Certificate, and then the GPD in-house volunteer reserve training that they also do. Where we can leverage and identify what specifically needs to be offered as part of their training is the apprenticeship program, because the standards are developed by the employer. It's a relationship that we have with the U.S. Department of Labor, the employer, and GCC. So the standards and the courses that are required for them for their employment is spelled out by them. That's why there's a series of courses that are, a little bit more, because they're more into the operations of GPD than a regular criminal justice certificate. And so that's one way that we can do it, is put it through as additional courses for under the Manpower Development, the apprenticeship program. One of the other things, because I completed the FOIA and I had an opportunity to look through all the information that was provided associated with this, we will be meeting this academic year with an advisory council that will be approved by the board. We will welcome folks from GPD to also serve on that advisory council so that we can go through and identify what additional courses need to be included as part of the program. We will have a executive director for post effective September 1st, and so that person will be back on board, or a person will be back on board to help facilitate not only post but also the criminal justice academies that the college will be continuing to do. So that would be a dual assignment, one for post and then also to oversee and monitor all the CJ academies that we have. So these are different opportunities. In terms of Guam Fire, there was a grant that we received last year that actually got them nationally certified under it's a national certification for firefighters. And so that was done in conjunction with the Stanley Torres, what was it called? Pro Board. So the fire department, we were able to arrange courses on site for fire department personnel on site so that they can be Pro Board certified, and that was all part of a grant. So we've gone to help GFD in their locations to help get these additional folks Pro Board certified. So that was something we did through some funding, some grant funding that was made available. But yes, I do welcome the opportunity to have additional and further discussions with law enforcement to help resolve this issue. One thing that we do notice, and we've had several discussions regarding this, is that the basic requirement, if you look at the job description, is a high school diploma. Yet we have graduates that could be, to some extent, identified as a selective factor for the initial round of applicants. And we've had that discussion, I think, for several years. By Speaker, thank you for allowing us to have that conversation, but that's not up to us to determine what the selective factors are for employment. And so if that's one way to get these folks that have already spent their money and garnered financial support either from their families or through Pell Grant, if that's an opportunity for them to have first dibs or preference points for those positions, that would help. That would help, because once they get hired by GPD or any of the other public agencies, we could add the additional courses that are necessary specific to their organization, because Customs has a little bit more different type of training. GPD has different type of training that is very specialized for their occupations, and so we can work on that. But one way would be to identify a selective factor for those that have already completed the degrees.
If memory serves me right, in your catalog
Yes.
for fire, you say before you can go into a fire training program, they have to have been selected by fire or GFT.
This was, Mr. Vice Speaker, this was a special program. The one, it's actually not in our catalog right now because when it was designed as a curriculum, it was meant specifically for the fire department. In other words, that they would have been already employed within the department.
I understand, and that's what I was leading to, that there was a time when your catalog was very clear.
Yes.
In order to go to this academy, you have to have already been picked up by fire. There's no sense in wasting a Pell Grant or getting your family to come up with $5,000 because if you take the course, there's no guarantee that you're going to get picked up anywhere. So,
Not there anymore. It's not here.
yeah, no, it was in the previous
one.
previous catalog. But I'm just wondering whether or not we should be that honest with the students that unless you've already been picked up and you're just taking these courses because you either want to get more credits for advancement to PO2 or PO3 or whatever, there's no sense in spending any money in this program because it's just, it doesn't seem to be feeding into, I mean, we've had this discussion 5-6 years now, trying to figure out how we get, but I mean, it's really become critical because now there's a need to fill vacancies and the vacancy pool money is being wasted and we're just incurring a huge overtime because we're not filling the vacancies. And so I'm trying to figure out how to be able to do this, but I also don't want to give people the false hope of, yeah, go to GCC because the executive director of post is there, and that's almost, I mean, that would seem to be, to me, the FDA stamp or the imprimatur that because he or she is there, that whatever I take from GCC is going to translate into a job for me at one of those three agencies. We've got to figure out something, or at least not to be misleading, but to have people have realistic expectations.
So in terms of post, the CJ certificate program is deemed certified by post. It's certified by post. Doesn't mean that the hiring authority requires you to pick them up. So we can provide a program that is certified by the people that actually employ or are required to meet certain minimum standards. The GPD program is also a separate program that has been recognized by post. So there are two types of training that has been recognized by post. We provide one of them and to some extent support the other. But we're not the hiring agency, so if there's a way for us to do it from the hiring perspective, we're training them to meet the requirements of post. It's just how do you get the hiring authority to support those that we've trained? Unless there's a requirement for a screening process, like you said, that requires everybody to get screened before we train them.
Or even if not required, but at least having them understand, like the old catalog read.
Yes.
You know, so that they know. And I'm just trying to figure out, I know this morning there was a question raised by one of my colleagues about the advisement, the counseling, and I've spoken to you about this before, about the one young man who was the DOC that got an EMT training and did well with you, scored very high in the testing, but then when he was going to be recertified, it was discovered he should never have been trained in EMT because his felony was one that disqualified him from ever having a license. And I'm just wondering, is there a counseling or an advisement program to make sure that people are not so much I don't know, maybe it is pre-screening, but at least have people understand it's not that I'm pre-screening you. I'm just trying to save you $4,000 in payment for this certificate program that, unless you just want it for, for your edification. But just be aware that because you have this as you have this felony or this other, that this will forever disqualify you from getting a license in that field. Maybe you should find another certificate program at GCC and not this one. I'm just okay. Thank you. I'll have your oversight chair up. Continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Okada, I thank you very much and your team for coming in and presenting a budget. It's slightly, lower than last year. And I'm happy, of course, that it's the education institutions are taking the lead here. And so we thank you for that. The decrease now, I'm assuming, of course, that because of some of the things that the college has done, that may have be part of the decrease in your budget. And I'm wondering then whether some of this would be attributed to your buildings where they're LEED certified and you have, solar panels. We visited the recent building where, you're efficiently, your lights and your energy resources are just are being, efficiently run. And so is that where you're also seeing some savings? And if you can share that data with us, it'd be great. And more importantly, is that then how then are you using your savings?
So a couple of things. We have been experiencing some decrease in the amount of power that we're needing to run the campus. And this fiscal year, we're actually translating that savings into more energy efficient projects. So for example, right now we have 5 buildings that have PV panels that are all net metered back into the grid. And so it produces some of the energy, not necessarily all of it, but helps to defray the cost. So we will be using this fiscal year some of the cost savings to do changing out of the lights that are in the classrooms to further do that. There is a bid that we're working on right now to do a solar belly compactor so that we can compact all the trash so that it minimizes the cubic yardage or cubic feet that actually go into the dumpster, so that when the dumpster is offloaded that it's used to its capacity as opposed to all the air in between all of the different types of trash. So we're working on something like that, and then to provide solar-powered PV walkways for the students so that they're not exposed to the rain and the heat. That helps them to transition from one building to another. So those are some of the things that we're doing. In this budget, even though we are asking for a little bit less, we've absorbed to some extent and done the reallocation all of the increments that are due for the fiscal year. And also, we normally present a growth budget. All the growth initiatives are in this budget as well. So there's a significant amount of funding in this budget, specifically in contractual services, so that we can move to the cloud. That's going to cost us some money. All of that is already included in this budget as a growth initiative. So even with those growth initiatives and the increments, the savings on the power have all been included as part of this budget. And it came out a little bit less. Like I said, it's a very slight decrease, but nonetheless is able to capture any increase in other contractual services that we did have. But much of these savings is attributed to the power.
And just to point out, I did notice that you have an increase, which I'm sure members of this panel will support, your IT. You're moving a lot of that savings into your IT upgrades, which I think.
Yes, it's about $341,000 that we're moving to expand our IT.
I'm sure everybody here supports the idea.
Thank you. The other concern that you have, that we have here as well, because how it could impact, of course, the entire government is, as you mentioned in your testimony, the merit bonuses. And I know that if nothing is done, it continues to remain in the books, then this is going to continue to, accumulate. And I have to say, and I thank you very much. I think you're probably the only one that really followed the law where it says that merit bonuses will be given as far back as 3 years and not, 10, 15 years. And but you're still having this outstanding debt that will continue to accumulate. Is there, I know you're looking to the legislature basically to kind of resolve this more than you will be able to do it without the funding source. But specifically, when you say that, it is, it's, part of, that what's in the books right now. And do you know specifically what that is without having to go back to pull out the language? Do you have that information?
So it just basically froze it in 2014. It's frozen, but that doesn't mean it went away, so it's still there. And I think it had something to do with updating the evaluation tool for the government of Guam. And so because the tool has not been, as far as I know, the tool has not been modified, the merit bonuses still exist. And until such time that the tool is updated, the obligation that we have still exists because we're still operating under the old tool. And so we're concerned about it because although we've accumulated about 52,000 over the past, or since 2014, 2014, we've accumulated about 52,000. We just need to know what is the direction. Is it going to continue? Then we would allocate it in the current budget that we have or figure out a way to cover it so that we don't have, after 5 years, or this looming debt hanging over us. We just want resolution to it because, it's unfair for the employees, the staff employees. They've worked so hard. They are entitled to the merit bonus based on what is currently in the law, and we just want to resolve it once and for all so that we can either continue to give it or change the legislation so that it is compensated some other way or not at all.
Can you share your evaluation tool that you use to determine then if there is supposed to be a merit bonus to be, given? I understand that, normally there is satisfactory or unsatisfactory, but then if you're going to give an outstanding, then there has to be a definition, so to speak, of what then is considered outstanding to then merit or qualify for that merit bonus.
So there is unsatisfactory outstanding. So for every outstanding evaluation that comes across my desk, I require the supervisor, and approved by their supervisor if they have one, to specifically identify where did the employee go above and beyond what they're required to do on a normal basis, without getting into the requirement for a desk audit that they're doing something at a higher level. It really is contained within their job description. But what are they doing above and beyond that really deems them to be an outstanding employee? So we don't give it away. It's difficult. The supervisors have to provide the additional information. And then all of those employees that are outstanding employees, we highly recommend the supervisors to submit for the Governor's Excellence Awards when they give for MAGPRO every year. So that's where our pool of applicants come from. So if an employee is deemed outstanding, then they deserve to be nominated for the Government of Guam recognition awards. And so that's how we do it, but we do require documentation to justify their outstanding performance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon. I first off want to thank the chairman for working closely with me and how we could go forward in growing the Office of Technology, and one of those efforts is to build upon the IT workforce within our government. I see here in the chairman Ariola's statements here and how you're meeting regularly with the industry experts and how to basically see where the needs are within the industry. But my focus is the government, and working with the newly confirmed Chief Technology Officer. He's in the process of modernizing his basically organizational structure, and we talked earlier this morning that it's clearly an outdated structure, and it takes a lot of work. Seeing the efforts of GCC here, have there been any discussions? I know a lot of the folks in your computer science program go off into the private sector, but has there any thoughts of how it could be tailored, or working with the new office, knowing that there's a way we can grow our IT workforce within our government?
So just as a starting point, we were approached by several IT providers, telecom, and you can see from our apprenticeship statistics that the biggest users of the apprenticeship program are from the IT. There's actually some kind of competition going as to see who can have the highest apprentices. But we have been in discussion with these telecom providers because they see the need to grow not only the employees that they have, but to prepare the next generation of IT folks. So what the college is considering right now, through some federal funding that we have, is two things. One is to grow and strengthen IT in secondary, so pilot a secondary program that could eventually lead into a revamped post-secondary program. And once that gets through, once we've gone through and developed all the courses necessary to support that, then it would be available to other government agencies. So we're working with telecom to help us identify what those needs are, so that we can continue to do the research and find out what those courses are and how we can help the government employees as well. But I'd just like to focus that the 4 projects specifically that we identified in our budget is moving the ERP system to the cloud, to do the disaster recovery, because that's a very important component, migration to the cloud, and of course the network penetration testing that is now an audit requirement for us. So those are the 4 areas that we're identifying in here in our budget to support our IT folks. But yes, there is continues to be and will be opportunities for us to help the government of Guam once we get all the IT folks together. But the first step for us is to build the curriculum. Oh, yeah.
Good afternoon, Madam President and Mr. Chair. Thank you again for your budget proposal. Though you've been at the helm of GCC longer than I've been a senator, it's been a great honor and a privilege to be sitting here at every budget hearing that for the past many years. And I've seen nothing but improvement at GCC in both the campus and the increase in student enrollment, the programs offered by GCC. It's just beyond words. And I hope that, and I fully support your budget request, and I hope that the chairman will be able to find it to give you your full request of $20,396,725. And I know you only requested for $394,725, but I want to put back that $2,000 that I can be able to. But thank you again for excellent budget proposal that is submitted to the legislature, and like the vice chairman has, like the vice speaker has said. The realistic budget that you have presented to the legislature just goes to show that you are working within the budget that is given to you, and it shows that you can actually do the work that you need to do and continue to do more with what was given, and I fully support this budget request. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam President and Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Since he's putting back the 2,000.
Million.
Maybe 2 million.
20.
20. How much is being withheld in reserve so far to date?
So based on our allotment schedule, there is at the end of the fiscal year, there is a potential 10% reserve of about 1.9 million. However, as of today, based on the allotment schedule, we are behind about 8.6 million. Yes, we have received about 42% of the general fund total appropriation.
So that's 8.6. What happened last year for fiscal year 15? Did you get the full amount for 15?
We did in March. By March of this year, we got all of last year's.
And do you also have an agreement with the administration to make good at some point, even if it is 6 months into the new fiscal year before you get that?
So basically, right now with the $8.6 million, I did get a commitment to receive 2 releases in the next couple of weeks. We were provided and worked out a schedule with DOA many months ago before the new director even came in, and we worked out a schedule as to how much GCC should receive every month based on the cash flow. And recognizing that at the end, if the 10% reserve was going to be held, I said, I would agree as long as every other government agency had the exact same or more than GCC's 10%. So we're able to contribute because we understand the cash flow. But based on the schedule that we have, we are anticipating to receive a total of about the 90%, which is about 17.2 million, just in the general fund.
But does the agreement say that you'll get the last 10% at some point next year?
It's not determined unless there's some additional cash. So there is no agreement right now.
Okay. Well, maybe one of my colleagues might be able to assist us in that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, President Okada, for the work that GCC is doing for our students. You and your team have actually served our public school students to the extent that we have not really seen in a long time. We have a lot of students who are now prepared with your dual articulated program so that there's a smooth transition from the Guam Community College from the public schools to Guam Community College. And one of the things that we've really been challenged with has been among our public school students is to give them an incentive to move on to and enroll in post-secondary or higher ed. So the programs that you have in our public schools have really been successful. And it's good to know that you're indeed expanding that to include technology. I am just curious. We at one time had discussed the difficulties that our public school students demonstrate in passing the tests that they have to take. Do you have any programs right now that are in place that would that helps to make the connection with our high school teachers so that they would be better prepared to?
So there are some bridge courses that we're currently doing, and then the college this semester, fall semester, will be exploring some opportunities to consider, instead of just relying on the placement test, to consider other information provided, like their grades from high school, so that they're not automatically placed in developmental ed. So we're looking at that this semester, so that we can provide some other opportunity for kids, because sometimes it's just taking the test. It's not necessarily, and it's the time of the test and when they take it, and so we're exploring other opportunities so that it's not just solely their placement is not solely relied on their college placement test, that we take other scores into consideration so that they can be immediately placed into college level courses.
Okay, so of those that have achieved the certificates of mastery, those are primarily from the high school, right?
They're all from the high school.
They're all from the high
Yes.
school. How many of those actually move on to get an associate's degree so that they have a...
So we just started, so it's only been a couple of years that we actually had the DCAPS program. So 2012. So in terms of those that have actually completed, I don't have that number for you. I did include in my testimony the number of students that had transitioned into post-secondary, and the
Yes.
numbers are very small. But we can go back and take a look to see those that have actually completed Certificate of Mastery, that has finished a certificate or an associate's degree. We can come back and give that information to you.
Right. Because I think that would be a good indicator about, what we're trying to do in getting them into a degree, some type of degree program, right, that would get them better prepared. And then I am also wondering just how many of our students who start there in GCC, we've talked about this earlier, actually then move on to get a four-year degree. I know that you have conducted a study about what happens to the graduates and how many of them have actually, what types of jobs they have and whether they have gotten it in the area of their training. But do you have that information?
So
yeah.
we do have the number of students that are actually transferring to UOG, but not necessarily, we're not capturing the data yet as to whether or not they've completed. And so that's something that we could work with the University of Guam to determine, once they receive them, are
Right.
they actually finishing them through the program?
Right.
But we're not collecting that data right now.
Okay.
In fact, we have an agreement with my counterpart at the university called the Reverse Transfer, MOA, whereby we realize that there are students who begin their post-secondary education at GCC and then go to UOG. And so the MOA essentially says that if they complete a credential at UOG, that there will be some process whereby we can request for the transcript and then evaluate it and provide them with another credential, which is an associate degree. And take a look at the courses that they have taken, so that essentially it's 2 degrees, buy one, take one kind of
That's
arrangement. And that's been a best practice among community colleges and four-year institutions that are close to each other. Because like GCC and UOG, our students transition in and out. We have a consortium, and sometimes they come to take math or English at GCC and then go to UOG, and we cannot track them not until they complete a bachelor's degree, in which case it's very clear we develop an SOP whereby our 2 registrars plus counselors have a discussion, have a list, and then we get we request for a listing of those students who have completed, and if they've spent some time and got some credits from GCC, then we evaluate their credits and then award them a credential. Yeah, and I will need to follow that up again with my counterpart, and we have a good agreement on that one.
Yeah. They had reported about your great working relationship in helping your students, just make sure that the credits that they earn in GCC actually can be transferred. So thank you very much for your hard work and your success and working with our students. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Dr. Codd, I just wanted to say that you certainly are an excellent community steward, and I'm very also happy to see that you're doing a transformational journey with this 100% student focus now. And as I was looking at the fact that it sometimes takes students 4 years to complete a 2-year course, and you mentioned also that a lot of it is attributed to their unpreparedness, and there's certain things that you do, bridge courses or remedial type of work to get them up to speed. But I was wondering though, are some of the challenges with these students not just purely academics, but associated with cost and transportation needs and all that? I mean, there must be some other factors that play into the fact that only 25% of freshmen, that 25% of the freshmen don't come back, that they drop out and all that. Can you just comment a little bit on what the logistics are with the students?
So what we have, so the community college student is a little bit different. Most of them are working, and so when a lot of jobs are available, people go into the workforce. If their companies have large projects, opportunities, sometimes school gets put aside so that they can complete their job first. There are some students that have expressed transportation issues, and we would really hope or would support having a transit system that will help these students get to and from the campuses on a regular basis so that they don't miss their classes. And so that's something that we've had discussions. We even have had a bus stop put in front of the campus, but the reliability of it is, not always in support of the student. But some of the other daycare challenges, and because daycare is closed at 5:30, and so those are some of the challenges that they have. In addition to the financial support, but there are several different programs that we have that can help with the financial needs that the students have. And it's not really in terms of scheduling. We think that the biggest downside to a student completing within a required time really gets stuck in developmental ed. And so we're trying to address that now. Another project that we're considering, we're working really hard to get it off the ground, is called Registration 365. In other words, you come in on day one and you get your registration for the 365 days. So in other words, when you come in the fall semester, you're given the schedule for the next academic year, as opposed to coming in every semester to do it. So that's something we're looking at because other community colleges are doing it, and it helps to maintain student retention and keep them, focused. And we also have Project Win-Win, so we've got a very extensive computer database that allows us to identify how many students are pretty close to completing. And sometimes it just takes a phone call that says, do you know that you only need these many credits to complete your degree? And so we're doing that follow-up by putting additional student support or student success coordinators in place so that they become the advocate for the student to help track them and to help facilitate them through the process to completing their degree. So we're working on different kinds of initiatives to help support them, but hopefully to have them come in and complete in a timely manner.
And I commend you for being so proactive. I appreciate that explanation because I had a feeling that there was much more than just one snapshot of what the obstacles are. Masi.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to all of you who are here. I want to, just like Senator Tony Ada, I think he's been here longer than me, but a term more than me. But, just the time that I'm here, I've worked with you, Mary, and with your team, and really impressed with the work that you do up at GCC. I know that after seeing, this was probably perhaps over 6 years ago when you first got that building LEED certified, the resource center,
yeah,
got a LEED certified. That has really inspired me to get our other government facilities to mirror that type of path that you guys have taken. And so we've instituted where it's public policy now that we need to have some sort of sustainable design methods when we do now renovate or build new facilities. And so I'm hoping that the $100 million that's out there for Simon Sanchez and the other schools take look at that law that I know we kind of reached out to DPW once when they were putting things together to ensure that they look at the law that we've put together, because really it was inspired by the work that you do at GCC. So I want to congratulate you folks there and thank you. And if there's a move to increase your budget $2 million more, then we'll support it definitely. I just wanted to see the Vice Speaker do that. Yeah, but I just have on a more serious note. We always, of course, we want to ensure that the natural choice, the choice for our our students after high school here is they stay on Guam. They go to University of Guam or GCC. I have a daughter who's here in Guam. She's here, going to college here. But the reality is we do have some students that go off island, that go for many different reasons off island for higher education. And so 2 years ago, the legislature passed a resolution expressing Guam's support to be a member of the Western Interstate Commission for Higher Education, WICHE, right? And so, I know part of the provision of that resolution was that we were supposed to hear back from GCC or UOG. I don't think we've ever. I haven't seen that, right? And so, recently I introduced legislation that would, as the resolution called for, move forward with this and get Guam membership into WICHE, so that for those students that do go off island, that there's some savings for them as well, for them and their family. We know that CNMI is a member of WICHE. One of the, I believe, one of the arrangements that WICHE has done is that if the territories, Guam, CNMI, and I believe there's other jurisdictions come together, then the annual fee is then split between whoever is a member of that. So I know we're moving that direction. I know the governor's office was involved, with that as well. So I just, since you also have your board, your trustee, your chairperson here, just kind of get a sense of what the college position on this, and Guam being a member of WICHE.
So there's a couple concerns that I expressed during the time that resolution was passed. And primarily is that, the first concern I have was that CNMI, when they joined WICHE, they joined as the region. So that in any attempt for Guam, Palau, FSM, RMI joins, that we fall under CNMI. CNMI currently has 3 seats on the board for WICHE, and therefore, if Guam were to join, what seat do we get for paying half? Because it would be incrementally done. So if there are 2 members out of our region, you pay 50-50. If there's 3, you pay the 33.3%. And there's 3 seats. So if we were to pay half, we can't get 1.5 seats on the board. So how is that given up? So my first concern was that if we were going to contribute into WICHE, that we should pay 1/3 until a third person comes on, because we would only technically be entitled to 1 seat on the board. The reservation we have at the college in joining WICHE is that we want to support our University of Guam. And we want to make sure that if we are offering opportunities for students to go off island, that we do it through articulation agreements that we currently have. We have articulation agreements that allow for individuals to go to the institutions for the same 150% tuition that is currently offered under WICHE. It allows us to support the University of Guam because when students go off island, chances are, and Dr. Underwood will attest to this, is that they don't necessarily come back. And so we're losing our folks by allowing them or giving them opportunities. Granted, everybody should be given an opportunity, but we wanted to ensure that if we are able to provide the programs here on Guam, that they should stay. WICHE doesn't identify which programs you're allowed to take off island. It is the other institutions that determine which programs we're allowed to take. And then the reciprocity also occurs. So in order for us to be WICHE, we would have to identify programs that other folks from other jurisdictions can come and take at the same arrangements. Where that would probably be a little bit of difficulty is not on the community college, but probably more so in the marine science, the marine biology programs and the higher programs at UOG that they're very, that they're very specialized in, and then people come here anyway to take those. So those were our initial concerns. Is one, we want to be supportive of our students here on Guam, but we really want to support our university. And that was one of the reservations we had. We know that CNMI has sent individuals off island or to these other institutions, but until such time that we really see the large increases or numbers of students that really want to go someplace else, let us work through the articulation agreements first. We just wanted that opportunity. And like I said, the whole baseline and our support from the board was really to continue to support the University of Guam. The other thing that we are very cognizant of is that we didn't want at that time, the reason why the resolution came was with the approval and authority of the boards is because we didn't want the interference that would jeopardize any of our accreditations. So that was one of the other issues that we had regarding that. But those are just kind of my thoughts that initially, a couple years ago when this was brought up, if Guam wanted to do it, Guam should do it as the leader because we had the population. And that, 3 seats on a board is a lot. 3 seats on a board in an international board is a lot. And I just wanted to make sure that, we were going to be afforded an equal voice.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I'm sure we're going to need to have more discussions on that because, as I said, I do have an initiative to move that forward. And there's been a serious progress, already made. And some of the concerns you brought up, I think, what was given to me was different information, and so perhaps those concerns were addressed. But clearly, I don't want to use this forum as a way to discuss it. But we'll definitely reach out and have more discussions with you and the university. I just wasn't able to make it this morning to be able to speak to them about it too. And I agree with you. I fully support our students staying here. Just like I have with my daughter. But there is that the reality that some do go for various reasons, right? And so we want to support them in their getting that opportunity to get education as well. And if we can do it in a way where we're able to provide some relief for them, then that's the viewpoint that I've taken on this. But again, thank you so much, and support GCC. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, for giving me the opportunity to speak. Dr. Okada, to your team and to your staff, GCC Undunklum Sidus Masi, for all your hard work. When you were reading your testimony, Dr. Okada, and you were starting to talk about what the next steps for the colleges were, I was saying, she's got to say culinary. And I looked down, and that's the first thing I see at the bottom of this sentence, is to provide more courses for the culinary courses and expanding the facility and upgrading on that. I want to say congratulations again, Guam Community College, GCC, with the leadership of Chef Paul and the team of culinary students there, swept this international competition that just happened over the weekend. And as Oversight Chair of Tourism, I had the opportunity to share in the award presentations, and in each category, beef, chicken, and pork, Guam, GCC placed, and they were all also the overall champions. So, that truly is a testament to what the program offers. I also want to say, as one who watches a lot of the food channel and sees what's going on, I want to share with you that each time representation from Guam, somebody from Guam was competing that got to at least the semifinals. We haven't had a winner yet on these different food competitions on the shows that are on international TV. But I want to say that Guam, the representatives always recognize 3 times. I've heard 3 different folks acknowledge and thank Guam Community College's Pro Start program for giving them the opportunity to learn and to move, and then that's why they're here. So you guys should be using that because between that, the Disney. Do you guys still have the Disney contract or the relationship there? No.
Not with Disney.
I thought not at this time.
No.
I do know that there are some programs back there looking into what's happening here on Guam and the programs that they have. And I just want to say that please keep up the good work there. Over the weekend, there was over 10,000 people there. And the students from GCC just rocked it. And I was just so proud that that they won the championship. So just say, thank you. And I support the budget. And I think in all the years that I've been there, this is, if not the only agency who's said, we'll work with the decrease. So that truly is a blessing. Thank you for literally working with what we are challenged with every day. And as far as trying to balance a budget when we know that there's a huge deficit that we have to work with. Sana Masi, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Madam President, if either you or the chairman wish to make a closing comment, I invite either one.
I would just like to thank you. It's been several years, and I'm very grateful that all of you have made time to come and listen to and give, some feedback on our fiscal year 2017 budget and provide some areas that we can, continue to focus on and help to support our community. So thank you very much, and we wish to, garner your support for the GCC budget request in its entirety of $20,396,725. And we will notify you when the groundbreaking is. We have identified a contractor and have just completed the AG review. So hopefully before the end of the month, we will do the official groundbreaking for Building 100.
Okay. Again, on behalf of the committee, thank you very much for your cooperation and all the great work that you do at GCC. This budget hearing will now stand in recess until tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. when we meet and reconvene to hear the Unified Judiciary of Guam. Thank you very much.
Thank you.